Hey everybody, ronarray here, and Path of Exile 2 Dawn of the Hunt new league has just been announced, and I absolutely love it. However, for some new to PoE players, the concept of the league could be kind of new, and some veterans might not be sure if changes are worth their time over a free-share PoE 1 league. So in this video I want to showcase why I think the new PoE 2 league is exciting, why it should hype you up, and why you should definitely try it. Let's go! So first and the most important part is more characters and build variety. In 0.2 we're going to receive 5 new Ascendancies together with a new class, the Huntress. When PoE just released, build variety suffered and it's been kinda in shambles for some time. However, right now new Ascendancies look pretty strong and promising, and I'm going to deep dive overview for some of them in the next few days. But for players, it will add huge variety of possible combination of builds, which will be fun to explore, and I'm pretty happy about that. Because on the release we had some issues with that. It also seems that the Huntress will blend melee and range combat together, with combos leading to a new kind of playstyle, which is nice as well. Combos were pretty questionable choice before, but maybe some of the new ones will be worth it in the endgame. We will see it pretty soon. Having a tame beast with you all the time also opens an interesting combos for Hunters, in the same way as Spectres were used in PoE 1, to provide buffs, especially since the tame beasts contain rare mods, so if you're going to catch a pretty nasty rare beast, you will be able to utilize those mods for your advantage. I'm very curious how the taming mechanic will even work. There are so many options right now. For example, with a new support gem that makes the minion take a portion of the damage you receive instead of you, will you be able to make Huntress tankier? Considering how tanky rares usually are, it could be a very good defense layer for the Huntress if the numbers will be right. On top of that, we are going to receive 25 new skills, and 22 of them will be spear related. You will be able to use spears for other classes too, and I will definitely try to explore spear-wielding monk myself on top of my current nuke wave build, so feel free to subscribe to follow my journey on that. Also, a spear could be a great way to play a ranger or even mercenary builds to some degree, and I'm sure we will have a variety of builds with spears in that league. Aside from the spear skills, we're also going to receive Summon Spectres, which has been an amazing option for buffs and even pure summoner builds in PoE 1. The skill gives you an option to rise almost any monster in the game as your shadow minion. I'm absolutely sure that Spectres will be an opener for very strong summoner builds in PoE 2 as well. But even for other types of builds, Spectres can still be utilized just for buffs, especially since you won't need to run around and resummon them like in PoE 1 once they die. And finally, we're going to receive raw mounts as a spirit gem, and I think mounts by themselves are pretty hype in PoE. This will make gameplay feel so much smoother for range builds. You can move at the full speed while shooting when you're riding your raw. We'll see how viable it will even be, or if it's going to be just a gimmick, since at least I would like to have a movement speed buff, maybe from quality, maybe for gem levels, but some buff would definitely be nice. We will also receive 100 new support gems, which will be showcased later on, and I will go through them in another deep dive, but the amount sounds huge already. Even a few examples that GG already showcased look kinda questionable. Another great point is new mechanics and more things to farm. So when PoE 2 Early Access started, the endgame in the game was a little too shallow, and GG are saying the same thing as well. Most of the time farm strategies have been built around breach or ritual farming, with not a lot of things on top of it. So in 0.2 GG is trying to address it. First off, we are going to have a new mechanic, Asmirian Wisps, which is pretty similar to the affliction mechanic from PoE 1 if you're familiar with it. Those wisps will spawn randomly in the world from Act 1. You will need to chase it and it will just float away from you. So it will drift through the zone. Any monster the wisp pass through becomes infused with that wisp's power, making the monster stronger and granting extra effects depending on the wisps. The Wisp will continue just flying through the location until it will possess a final monster, creating a very strong enemy that you will need to kill. When you will kill it, you will get rewards based on how many infused monsters you defeated in the process along the Wisp path. So the more monsters you will kill before the Wisp dissipates, the better your loot will be. That mechanic should stack greatly with Breach again, but also should spice up mapping in general and will require a decent single target damage because the last enemy probably is going to be pretty tanky. There are many types of Wisp too, each with unique boons and corresponding rewards. For example, the Wisp of Scanning Fox will upgrade every monster rarity tier when it will touch them. Normal monster will become magic, magic will become rare, and rares will become mini bosses. It sounds pretty great for combo with proper boss rush and boss tablets together, because you can get pretty nice amount of bosses in one map. Wildcat Wisp boosts crit and evasion of enemies and makes them summon feline allies, so Tornado of Cats is probably incoming. Winter All Wisps give enemies cold damage and energy shield and spawn chilling vortexes on death, so bring in additional on-death effects. Hope those will not hit too hard because on-death effects are always annoying in RPGs. Bear Wisps will grant monster huge HP and some stun resistance, and so on and so on and so on. There are even Sacred Wisps, which are especially rare and will give you powerful rewards. The variety will keep you on your toes, because each Wisp basically creates a mini event in the map, and you will need to change your approach based on it. I also think that some types of the Wisps will be especially good to farm, and we will need to know how often we will be able to get Sacred Wisps. Generally, Wisp should make mapping more fun and should stack pretty nicely with some other mechanics, such as Breach, as I already mentioned that. Rogue Exiles are also back. There's 12 of them and they're like smarter than ever. With this change, GG is reaching for PvP experience from Dark Souls games, making Exiles act more human. They will dodge roll and sidestep your attacks. They will also try to use like some kind of combos and try to survive in the fight rather than just rushing you like normal monsters. Each of them will have an additional build and unique theme or personality, if you would like to call it that way. They will also spawn wearing real gear, mostly unique items. So for example, if you have like a Kaum's Heart chest, they will actually have the stats from Kaum's Heart. But here's a pretty important part: when you kill a Rogue Exile, it will drop all the gear that it was wearing. It will turn Rogue Exiles into RNG unique piñatas. Ingenuity farming coming from them, I'm absolutely sure of that. However, if you will die to the Exile will escape the map and will take all the loot with it, so it will lead to a pretty exciting duels if the Exile will spawn with a lot of cool uniques on it. We're also getting new unique Stormboxes as well. Stormbox has been pretty weak in Path of Exile 2 and not a lot of people are even touched them. However, two of unique Stormbox that GG showcase sounds pretty alright. Eggshell Torment is the first one, which contains an additional unique item that is guaranteed corrupted. There is a possibility for double corruption or just a nice roll, so it's basically a gambling box right now. And second one is Ogham Legacy, which when opened will just revive all the monsters around again and again, and each time they will come back stronger and will drop more loot, which again stacks pretty well with Breach. However, since Stormbox has been pretty weak before, I'm not even sure if unique Stormboxes are going to change it significantly. Next important point is Endgame overhaul, perhaps the most impactful changes just to Endgame itself. GG want to make progression much smoother and kinda less tedious, and add more exciting content, and farming variety as well. The result is an endgame that should feel more rewarding and less grindy. So now we'll have a narrative-driven corrupted Nexus sequence guided by Doriani as the endgame introduction. When you will finish the campaign, you'll be tasked with cleansing corruption in special maps called Corrupted Nexus maps. There are 3 unique bosses in that corrupted zones. You have to fight to the center of each corruption and defeat the boss to purge each nexus. When you purge a corrupted zone, all the connected maps around it on the atlas transforms into cleansed maps, which feature new monster types, their own boss, and special modifiers and rewards. I think those special modifiers will be important part of the farming strategies in the new league, so farming cleansing maps will be a viable strategy by itself. Beating the cleansing maps also will guarantee a Fracturing Orb the first time when you will beat it, which I'm absolutely sure we all will just sell. The map modifiers across the board also will get rebalanced, and we will need more info on that to say is that a good thing or a bad thing. Towers are also improved, so now we'll have less of them, but they will provide double the buff and will have up to 3 sockets for tablets. Plus, the tower itself now can have mechanics in there too, so it will be less useless. This is generally a very good change, because tower has been pretty annoying mandatory mechanic before. We will also have a bigger Atlas passive skill tree, with 10 more points, now a maximum of 40, and new cool addition, unique maps. For now, there will be 7 unique maps in 0.2, each with custom encounters and custom rewards. For example, Calendar League is making a huge comeback, because nobody even liked that, in form of Fractured Lake mirror map, that populates itself with mirror duplicates of monsters, and the reward at the end is a new type of amulet that comes on a special base with unusual property. It can roll an extra prefix or extra suffix. In other words, we are getting bases from PoE 1 with additional prefixes or suffixes, which is kinda good. So jewelry from the heist is back, and now it will be locked behind unique map, so it will be very popular in the current economy because that jewelry been very strong in PoE 1. Another unique map, the Feral Megalith, is a fun boss rush gauntlet. You activate rune-carved stones to summon bosses one by one. Each time you kill a boss, the next one comes stronger, up to 10 bosses in a row. If you will kill all of them, you will get their drops plus some exclusive runes for crafting, which could be nice depending on the runes and their prices. Another one is the Essence-oriented map, and has unique boss in the center with a bunch of rare monster frozen essence around the map. Each rare you will kill transfer its essence to the central boss, making it stronger and stronger. So if you can clear the whole map, the boss can have a pretty great essence loot, so I think that map is going to be pretty popular as well. Most of those unique maps seems fun and open new farming option if you can chain farm them. The biggest concern there is how easy it will be to find them and how exactly we are going to access them overall. Craft is also improved, and that's a very big point because craft been in a very bad position in PoE 2 so far. So on the crafting front, we have so many new things. First and foremost, Fracturing Orbs are making a comeback from PoE 1. A Fracturing Orb lets you fracture and lock in one random modifier on a rare item, so that it remains intact no matter how you reroll or modify the item. In practice, this leads to that crafting high-end rares will have less RNG involved, and it will be used very often for expensive crafts and especially for mirror tier crafts. For now, it seems that Fracturing Orbs will be a guaranteed drop from certain endgame mechanics and bosses, which will be an amazing way to boost those particular strategies, because I think Fractured Orbs will have a very high demand. On top of that, recombinators are also coming to PoE 2, and they are tied to the expedition mechanic. With recombinators, you can merge 2 items into one, combining mods from both in random ways. If lucky, you can end up with items that has the best mods from both donors. This was a very popular and one of the best crafting methods in PoE 1, enabling completely crazy itemization for your character. For now, we don't know the odds for the high-level mods transfer, but it seems very promising and will lead to more item options for sure. It's also going to boost the popularity of Expedition, since almost nobody farmed Expedition before. Right now, with recombinators, it will be a great option for people who really likes to craft. And between fracturing and recombining, we will be able to have craft option with gearing possibilities when you can choose to have more RNG or less RNG, which will be very good for the economy and the game in general, because we will have more items on the market too. Last but not least, we will also have a new essence types to click items with. In 0.2, GG is adding a way to corrupt essence with Valorb for special outcomes in the similar way like we had in PoE 1. it can double the essence stacks, rerolling all to one type or upgrading it to corrupted essences. Exactly in the same way like we have it in PoE 1, so Hysteria, Delirium and such stuff, which will have pretty strong union crafting effects that will be revealed later. I'm sure that some of them will be mandatory for high-end crafting too, and will be pretty popular to farm, so maybe we will have an essence farming in PoE 2 that will be just focused on essences now. Right now we also have the last part, which is making the game easier for newer casual players. That part is not hitting home that good for me, since I never encountered most of the issues GGG is trying to address there. But I'm absolutely sure that making the game friendlier to the new players or casuals is pretty important. So if you had some particular trouble with it before, the changes should help you to adapt better. The most important one here probably that we will have a multiple teleports. First off, we already have a multiple teleports to fight the bosses, so even if you are dying, you can still rejoin and continue your fight. However, even for lower tier mapping right now, you will have multiple teleports again. We're still not sure how exactly it's going to work, but for higher tier Waystones, which will be rare, we'll probably have only one teleport, but for lower tier, when you're just starting mapping, you will have multiple, so it will be harder to fail. It also should help you with maintaining your Waystones, because if you're not completing maps, you probably should have just like issues with Waystones in general. I never had any issues myself, but a lot of people reported that, and I think it could be a pretty nice change. All of that together, making current league just huge, because we will have build variety, we will have endgame variety, and just quality of life changes all across the board. I think it's one of the biggest patches, even compared to PoE 1 patches, and for PoE 2 having such a big amount of content is just amazing. I'm absolutely sure that right now game on the right path, and I will be happy to come up with a few cool builds for the league. So stay tuned, and I'm going to showcase more of my ideas in the next videos. See you next time. ronarray out.